What's going on, guys? It's Cimo. So today I'm bringing to you my Lunalight Orcust deck profile. So earlier on we brought to you guys an introduction to Lunalight Orcust, explaining the cards in depth as well as how they interact with one another, and that was followed up with a combo tutorial for Lunalight Orcust, demonstrating just how powerful and explosive this deck can be and why it's one of the strongest decks of the current format. But today I want to bring to you the deck profile just to give you guys a template of something you can work on for yourself, and you can give this deck a shot and maybe your locals, maybe you have a regional, or maybe a Pro Play Tour, just like Pro Play Tour Columbus coming up on October 12th. This is really cool because there's a regional at the same venue that's a Konami sanctioned event on the 13th, so you can come in for the weekend, come to the Pro Play Tour, which is a $2,000 prize pool event. I'll be there doing live stream commentary coverage, and then you can go to the regional on Sunday and have two events in one weekend. That sounds pretty sweet to me, and I hope to see you guys there. But without further ado, let's go ahead and get right into the profile. So kicking things off with the main deck, we have 3 copies of Lunalight Kaleido. This is essentially our basic starter, and this is what we want to see in almost every opening hand. It's an effect, or excuse me, it's a cost to send any of our Lunalight cards to the graveyard, which is crazy because it plays around cards like Ash Blossom and Joyous Spring. It's our ultimate play starter, and it even has a cool ability that if it gets banished, you can stop stuff from being activated against you in the battle phase. Just an all-around solid card. It's a Beast Warrior, so it's searchable via Tenki. It's a level 4, which you're going to see a lot of level 4s and rank 4s later on. Just a perfect solid inclusion to the deck, and definitely what you want to see in every opening hand. That's going to be followed up with 3 copies of Lunalight Tiger. Lunalight Tiger is our abusable monster reborn. A lot of people compare this to Soul Charge because you get to special summon like 3 cards off of this usually in a given turn, just because of the amount of times you can bounce this with Yellow Martin or with Blackwing Zekrom the Elite. It's such a powerful card because it's not a hard once per turn. A lot of the Lunalight cards do not have that hard once per turn clause, and that's what makes this deck so powerful, especially in tandem with the Orcas cards. But Lunalight Tiger, you want to play it at 3 because you want to see it again in tandem with your Kaleido in every opening hand. Next up, we have 2 copies of Yellow Martin. Yellow Martin is crucial to the deck, but it's not something that you really care about too much. You're typically going to be dumping it off of your Kaleido, but this is how you're going to be enabling a lot of your rank 4 plays. It also is going to be how you're going to be bouncing your Tiger back to your hand most of the time. Just a very solid card. You need it for the deck, but you only want to see it, you know, you don't want to see it, you just want to dump it off the Kaleido, so 2 is a very good number. And then the last of our Lunalight monsters is 1 copy of Emerald Bird. Emerald Bird is nice because it's another 4. It's got a nice graveyard recursion ability as well, and its normal summon, or excuse me, its normal or special summon effect to draw a card is also not terrible either. It's just another card and another extender you're going to need as a bridge to get some of your rank 4 plays, and it's pretty much just a one of. You don't really want to play too much more than that. So that's going to do it for our Lunalight cards. Now we're going to move on to our extenders, which of course, the best extenders in the game are going to be Danger. So 2 copies of Nessie, 2 copies of Jackalope, 2 copies of Tsuchinoko, and then we have 2 copies of Mothman in addition to that. So obviously Nessie, Jackalope, and Tsuchinoko, not really much to say there just because they are the best Dangers out of the bunch because they typically all represent getting a monster on the board. But Mothman is particularly important in this deck because it is a level 4. So it's nice is that Jackalope can bring a Mothman onto the field. Even Mothman's ability to discard and draw a card is very powerful because it gets cards into the graveyard that you don't necessarily mind having in the graveyard, but having that level 4 is so important to give you that extra 4 sometimes you need in certain situations to be able to get your rank 4 in addition to your full combo, or give you the extender to need that you might need to do your full play. So definitely, I don't think you need 3 Mothman. You could up it to 3 if you so wish, but this deck is already 42 cards that I'm going to be showing you guys, so I feel perfectly confident just having the 2 because you don't want to see it. It's kind of like the worst of the Dangers, but having it isn't the worst thing in the world. That's going to do it for the Dangers. We'll just go ahead and get those out of the way real quick. Now we have the Orcas lineup. So 2 copies of Orcas Nightmare. We have 2 copies of Harp Horror, 1 copy of Symbol Skeleton, and 1 copy of World Wand. Now, when it comes to Nightmare, you want to have 2 of it just in case you open one because you never want to have it in your opening hand, otherwise your combo will fail. 2 Harp Horror is something that I like in this deck personally because discarding Harp allows you to be able to play through different sources of disruption, and having that second Harp means you're going to see it in your hand a little bit more often. Usually you're going to be sending it off of Nightmare, so it's not too big of a deal, but if you happen to open the Harp, it allows you to just play through a bit more of your opponent's cards, so that's why I like having it at 2. 1 Symbol Skeleton is all you need if you know how to manage your resources, and World Wand is an amazing extender to help get back your banished resources. So that's going to do it for our Orcas cards, and this should be the last of the monsters here. We just have one copy of Armageddon Knight and one Zephyros the Elite. Armageddon Knight is kind of like a pseudo 4th Kaleido chick, but it can also send the Orcas cards, which is really cool, so you could send something like a Nightmare or a World One, depending on the situation. It's just, you know, like I said, it's not, you'd rather see Kaleido chick, but Armageddon Knight is a nice backup. It also doesn't send for cost, so it's not nearly as good, but it's okay. And then Zephyros the Elite, such a powerful card in this deck, especially because we can summon off the Force Strix in the extra deck, bounce our Tiger to be able to reuse it again. It's a 4, like there's just so many good things. It's also a dark, so you can send it off Armageddon Knight. Such a powerful card. So that's going to do it for the monsters. We're going to go on to the spells now. 3 copies of Fire Formation Tenki, all of our Lunalights, our Beast Warriors, so it's just basically more ways to open our opening hand of like Tiger Kaleido chick, which you saw in the combo tutorial, is so explosive. We just want to have more consistency and more starters, so why not, right? 3 copies of Lunalight Perfume. This is a monster reborn that is not once per turn, and also you can banish it from the graveyard, discard a card, and add any Lunalight to your hand. So it's also like another starter in a way, because if you have like a danger and they hit like Perfume, you can get to whatever combo piece you need to kind of fix your hand. It's just such a good card, and again, these cards aren't once per turn. It's so crazy. Then we have 3 copies of Foolish Burial Goods, which can send the Perfume directly from the deck, and that's even crazier because, again, it's like another pseudo starter. Again, Foolish Burial Goods is a hard once per turn, but if you have multiple copies of Perfume, it's usually not too bad. I'm playing 3 copies of Called by the Grave. I like the 3 Called by the Grave because, 1, this is a combo deck, so we want to make sure that we're playing through our opponent's hand traps and don't have to worry about it too much. But 2, one of the biggest weaknesses of this deck, and realistically any Orcas deck, is Artifact Lancia, especially when you go into games 2 and 3. And so because of that, Called by the Grave, I just want to have it somewhere, whether it's in the main or the side deck, and it just makes more sense to have it in the main deck at that point. So that way, not only do you have to worry about Lancia, but you also don't have to worry about your opponent's hand traps like Ash Blossom, Ghost Ogre, Effect Veiler, different things like that. It just seems like the right call for a nice combo deck like this. 1 Foolish Burial, it's at 1, but that's perfectly fine. And then we have a 1 copy of Orchestrated Babel. Again, we want to just have our Orcas pieces here. You can actually opt to not play Babel. I've seen some builds not do that, but it's a pretty solid card, just giving you ability to play on your opponent's turn, have further sources of disruption, and it's a pretty nice card all around. Not the worst, but it's definitely cuttable. Then we just have 3 traps. We have 1 copy of Lunalight Serenade Dance. You only need 1 of this card, but what's nice about it is that you can pretty much ignore the first effect because I'm not playing any of the fusions, but if you are playing the fusions, it's actually not too bad. But the second effect is what you're looking out here, because during the main phase, banish it from your graveyard, send a card from your hand to the graveyard, and if you do, special summon a Lunalight directly from your deck. You're going to be using this as you saw in some of the combos. Very, very strong card, but again, you only need it at 1. It is searchable from our Yellow Martin, so that's why we only need it at 1. 1 copy of Crescendo, because again, it's searchable off the Galatea, and then 1 copy of Imperial Order. Now, this could be any floodgate of choice. You could play something like Summon Limit if you want. Instead of this, you could play, I've seen people play Eradicator Epidemic Virus for just a blowout factor, but as you saw in the combo tutorial, we're able to set cards from our deck directly via, you know, Curious and Griffin combo, so that is so powerful. And so definitely having a blowout card of choice, that's what can fill this 40-second slot here. So like I said, 42 cards, no more, no less. I tried to get it to 40, but it's really tough. I guess you could cut like Babel as well as maybe your blowout card if you don't want to play the Curious Griffin combo, but I would highly recommend it because you're going to win so many games just because of that. So now we're going to go on to the extra deck really quick here. 1 copy of Mermaid for our Orcas combo, of course. 1 Nightmare Phoenix. I'm not playing Cerberus in this deck because I feel like you don't necessarily need it. You're pretty much only just going to use the Phoenix for the most part and then just go straight into your Mermaid, which is perfectly fine. But if you find room for Cerberus, by all means, go ahead and play just as another piece to get there. We have 2 copies of Galatea. I don't think you need 3 because you're not playing like a pure Orcas list, so you're probably not going to need the 3rd most of the time. We have the Long Girsu instead of the 3rd Galatea, which I think definitely comes up as you saw in that combo tutorial. Just a nice strong card, as well as helping you recycle your resources. 1 copy of Curious, as well as 1 copy of Griffin for the combo to be able to set stuff like Imperial Order. So good. Then we have 1 copy of Appaloosa. Appaloosa, being able to just have so many negates on this and being backed by Dingirsu so it can't be run over in battle is just incredible. This is a very strong card to have in this deck. 1 copy of Borrelsaur Dragon, just so we can OTK our opponent. Even if we're going second, it's so easy to spam the field with cards, be able to make a Borrelsaur, usually with like Dingirsu, and then you can just win flat out from there. That's going to do it for our links. And then for our Xyz, 1 copy of Dingirsu. Again, you can opt to play a second one, but with this deck, you typically don't have to. If anything, you could like cut the Curious Griffin combo for like a second Dingirsu, as well as like maybe a Nightmare Cerberus, or maybe the 3rd Galatea if you feel like it comes up, but typically you just need the 1 Dingirsu. We have the Outer Entity Nyarla and Azathoth. This is so powerful, being able to play not only around Nibiru, but our opponent's hand traps, and it's so easy to make this before going into any of our main combos. 1 copy of Raid Raptor Force Strix to be able to access our Zephyros and get our combos going. 1 copy of Abyss Dweller because it shits on like half of the metagame at this point that's graveyard centric, especially if you go up against any mirror matches or any other Orcus decks, or even Salamangreat. It's just so good against any graveyard centric deck. And then 1 copy of Tornado Dragon rounding things off. This is a nice way to go into a much more explosive turn 1 combo, but it's just a nice rank 4 as well. This could be like anything else too. It doesn't have to be Tornado Dragon if you don't want it to. You could play something like Tiger King since you're playing Beast Warriors and just skill drain your opponent's board, especially if they're playing Thunder. You could play an Evil Swarm Nightmare for something like Pendulum. Like, there's just so many good cards you can play in this deck. It's really hard to make a 15 card extra deck, but I found that these were the most optimal. So guys, that's gonna do it for this deck profile. Let me know down in the comments what you guys think. I'd really love to hear your thoughts. Thank you so much for watching the video. Be sure to like the video as always. Subscribe to the channel for more amazing Yu-Gi-Oh content. And if you found this video helpful, consider supporting me on Patreon or becoming a YouTube channel member, because just by showing your support in any way that you can, you're investing in my ability to continue bringing you amazing Yu-Gi-Oh content. So thanks so much again, and we'll see you next time.